There is a question you have repeatedly asked all your Palestinian and pro-Palestinian guests, and you've had a lot of them, to be fair, people have praised you for that, to the point where it's become a bit of a joke, a bit of a meme. Do you condemn Benjamin Netanyahu's terrorism against the children of Gaza?
Well, I wouldn't categorise it as you do as terrorism, although I do think that they've committed some acts which I do think are acts of terrorists. For example, the aggressive, violent expansion on the settlements on the West Bank, I think you could inarguably say, well, that's a form of terrorism. I'm not sure how else people expected or how else the Israeli government should have responded to the terror attack of October the 7th, given the monumental scale of what happened that day. So I've always felt that Israel not only had a right to defend itself, but had a moral duty to defend its people.
By killing Palestinian kids?
I think the particular problem in Gaza is that half the population are under 18, of 2 million, and that clearly a disgusting amount of children have been killed in this conflict. So my answer to your question, I wouldn't categorise it as terrorism to respond to a terror attack by going to kill the terrorists. However, has it got completely unacceptable, the level of civilian death that has been going on in Gaza, particularly children? I say yes, and this has to stop.
A video that Washington Post verified of a little kid, 13 years old, is attacked by a drone, minding his own business. He's not Hamas. There's no Hamas hiding behind him. He's attacked. As he's bleeding out and people come to help him, they attack again. That's a double tap. It's what Al-Qaeda and ISIS do, double tap strike. How is that not an act of terror?
Well, because
2 kids are killed deliberately.
I've seen a lot of videos. Some of them are...
But that one specifically, is that an act of terror in your view?
It is in your eyes.
No, I'm asking your view.
Well, no, I haven't seen the one you're talking about. What I would say about it is that I want to see all of these things properly investigated and to establish whether there have been war crimes committed. And if there have been, absolutely hold the people who perpetrated it to account.
So you think Yahya Sinwar is a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
And there was an arrest warrant request for Yahya Sinwar from the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, British lawyer. He's also put out an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. He's accused Netanyahu, well, he's asked for one. The court is being lobbied not to do it. He's put out an arrest. He's asked for an arrest warrant, and the indictments he's put out include, this is what he's accused Netanyahu of: starvation, murder, willful killing, extermination. How is Netanyahu not a terrorist?
Well, it may end up being that he is convicted of war crimes that suggest he's a terrorist.
But Sinwar wasn't convicted of.
Well, Sinwar,
I'm just being consistent. The ICC chief prosecutor put out warrant for both.
Here's the difference. Hamas made no secret of what they did on October the 7th. Sinwar directed and ordered that attack. No one
Nor is Israel.
That. Yeah, but what the difference is that Hamas said, here are the GoPro cameras. We are going to show the world what we're doing here.
So is Israel. I just mentioned a video where a kid is killed on camera. Yeah. In fact, Israeli soldiers have put out TikToks of their war crimes. Piers.
You're not going to get me to say that what Israel's been doing is terrorism, because I believe they are defending
Why
their
not,
people.
though, is what I'm wondering. It seems to be just a stubborn resistance.
Because any country in the world that had October the 7th perpetrated against them would do what Israel has done.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
They would have killed kids at this level.
No, if you had literally a country on your border...
Well, it's not a country on your border, it's occupied territory. I think you've conceded yourself in previous
I have actually said to you, I believe it is occupied territory.
Okay, then, so it's not a country on your border.
Let's call it, what do you want to call it?
Occupied territory.
Okay, well, let's call it Gaza. Okay? That on one single day, in 13 different entry points, 3,000 people came through and committed as much mayhem and murder as they could possibly commit in a deliberate attempt to destabilise and take down Israel, which is intention of their original charter. If that happened on any border, shared border, in the world, there is no country in the world that would not have responded with military force in the way that Israel has done.
I don't agree with that. But let me say you're right. Well, every country would have done that. Doesn't make it not terrorism.
No, but then what you're saying is that any country that then goes after terrorists that perpetrate that kind of attack automatically themselves become terrorists.
No.
I dispute that categorization.
No, I'm saying that's a straw man.
Well, give me an example where they're not terrorists.
I just gave you an example. They could have responded to Hamas without attacking a kid, killing the kid, and when people come to rescue him, attacking them as well. I can be here all day. We don't have the time. So I can go through. They didn't need to attack an apartment building.
When American
We're
forces...
not doing whataboutism. The definition of terrorism, according to every dictionary, is the use of political violence against civilians for political goals. That is what Netanyahu is doing. He said it openly. Israelis have said it on your show.
Well, he's responding to a terrorist attack.
By doing more terrorism.
He's
killed 33 times as many people as Yahya Sinwar.
Let me be clear.
But Sinwar's a terrorist and not Netanyahu.
Netanyahu should absolutely no longer be Prime Minister of Israel.
Should he be at the ICC?
Probably, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if the warrant comes down, you support the UK arresting him if he comes to the UK?
I absolutely think that his alleged war crime, and I use that because they've not been substantiated, his alleged war crimes should absolutely be investigated.
This doesn't make any
But
sense.
you and I aren't going to agree.
I agree with you. No. I agree with you that they haven't been substantiated, but I'm being consistent. I'm saying everyone, Hamas, Israel, should be substantiated in investigation. You're saying one side's terrorists based on GoPro, but the other side's not terrorists, even though we've watched them kill thousands of people on camera. Literally, I've seen it. I saw them gun down an old lady holding a white flag.
Hamas have made no secret that what they did was terrorism.
Nor of Israel. Have you listened to Israeli soldiers? You should watch our documentary. It's called Israel's Real Extremism.
I will
It
watch
shows
it.
Israeli soldiers talking proudly
I will
about what
watch
they've
it.
done in Gaza. It's not just a T word, Piers, that you've been reluctant to use in relation to Israel, but also the G word.
Genocide. It's not genocide.
Why are you, so let's talk about that. Why are you perfectly happy to call what Russia is doing in Ukraine a genocide, but not what Israel's doing in Gaza when there are fewer civilians, far fewer kids killed in Ukraine than in Gaza, arguably way less genocidal rhetoric from the Russian government than we hear from the Israeli government? Why are you so uncensored on Russia but not on Israel? What are you afraid of?
The word genocide is where you deliberately exterminate a group of people based on ethnicity. And the reality about, let's take Gaza first of all. If Israel actually wanted to get rid of everyone in Gaza, they have the military power to do that. They have nuclear weapons. They could just nuke Gaza, as some of them, I suspect, would quite like to do. They've got some massively right-wing headbangers in that government, Ben-Gvir, Smodrich and others, who I suspect wouldn't hesitate to wage a form of genocide. So I accept that completely. But the reality is that there are 2 million people in Gaza, of which, depending which estimate you want to believe, but the official records from the Hamas-run health authority, there are about 45,000 people have died, of which it is estimated that around 15 to 20,000 are Hamas, and the rest are civilians.
That's
well, they're
estimated by Israel, but okay.
Okay, but there are different figures put up. But let's assume it's in that ballpark. Okay.
No.
Well, okay, but it
You could say that. but
Here's my point. It's not 2 million people, which Israel
That's
has.
not the definition of genocide.
Well, isn't it?
No. The Genocide Convention doesn't say you have to kill everyone. By the way, you said this to Bassem Youssef, our good friend, last week on the show. You said, well, I want to read you exactly what you said. Israel hasn't nuked Gaza, quote, they could have done. They haven't done that. If you're really genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
But Russia has the ability to nuke Ukraine too. Russia has the biggest stockpile of nuclear warheads
come to that.
in the world. So why
I
hasn't Russia? So Russia's not doing a genocide.
No, I don't think they are, and I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in order to defend Israel, you're withdrawing your allegation against Russia.
Yeah, because you made me think about it. I didn't remember that I'd used that word in relation to.
But it's not just Russia.
No, because
You've said it about many people.
Well, okay, so
You said Bashar al-Assad in 2012, 1 year into the civil war in Syria, when the death toll was much lower than Gaza. You said it was a genocide. You said the Rohingya in Burma.
Well, that's interesting.
Hold on. You said Rohingya in Burma.
Answer.
I'm finished my question, then you answer.
Okay.
You said the Rohingya in 2017, far less death toll in Burma, is a genocide. So I look at Piers Morgan and I say, here's this uncensored person, very bold, outspoken, opinionated man. He says Syria's a genocide. Burma's a genocide. Ukraine's a genocide. Israel? No, it's not a genocide.
Yeah.
And now today, actually, I'm going to withdraw the charge of genocide of Ukraine. That's how much I don't want to accuse Israel of genocide.
No, it's not.
It
That.
feels like you're afraid.
No, the other examples I would give, I would say absolutely there was genocidal intent.
Bashar al-Assad would say exactly what Netanyahu says. He says, I'm fighting terror. I don't believe him, and you don't believe him. We don't like Bashar al-Assad.
I don't.
We agree on Assad.
Yes.
But he would say exactly what Netanyahu says. I'm fighting terrorists who are hiding amongst civilians in Homs, and I'm bombing them. I'm fighting a war of self-defense. You say genocidal. I say, yeah, maybe genocidal. Israel says Amalek. They say total annihilation. They say we're going to destroy Gaza, we're going to level it, etc. You say not genocidal. I just find it fascinating that you'll call every other conflict which has fewer deaths than Gaza genocide. But for some reason,
There's not
you're
fewer
very
deaths
stubborn.
in Syria.
There were in February 2012, I checked. You said it was a genocide in February 2012. See, I do my homework. I checked. 7,500 people in Syria being killed at that point. You said genocide. 45,000 people in Gaza. You say not genocide. You don't think they're trying to erase northern Gaza right now?
I think what they're doing.
Are you seeing what's happening in northern Gaza?
Here's what I think they're doing. I think Israel genuinely believe what they're trying to do is eliminate Hamas, who they perceive to be a terrorist
I think you're
organization.
speaking on behalf of Israelis who aren't saying
Well,
that. They're making it very clear. It's not just about Hamas. They're seizing territory in Gaza. They're planning to, some of them are planning to resettle in Gaza, and right now, northern Gaza, according to the UN humanitarian chief, everyone is at risk of dying, Piers.
Don't misunderstand me. I think what's happening in Gaza is horrific.
You just won't say genocide.
No.
But ultimately, history will judge where you were on this, and they'll say you were right on Iraq and you didn't really come on board on
And
Gaza.
I don't think they'll find that you were right about calling it terrorism or genocide.
Okay.
We'll see.
I hope you're right. Obviously, I don't want it to be a genocide, but it looks like one, sounds like one, walks like one. October 7th was bad enough. I think we can both agree. The kidnapping and killing of civilians, war crimes, without anyone having to exaggerate. how bad it was. And yet, given the way a genocidal Israeli government, in my view, not yours, has used atrocity propaganda to try and justify the mass killing of Palestinians, especially Palestinian children. And that October the 7th, some would argue, even got as a Palestinian-American child killed in Illinois. There's an argument that that guy was infuriated by talk of beheaded babies, etc. Do you regret, Piers, a year later, having used your very big platforms, YouTube, Twitter, to spread that atrocity propaganda, to repeat the Israeli line uncritically, saying, and I quote, 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded?
Well, I never said, as people have tried to claim, that 40 babies got beheaded, right? We do know that some babies were killed.
One.
We do know a baby was kidnapped. Well,
I'm asking you about 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. Do you regret saying that as a journalist? You correct things when you're wrong.
as you know, well, I've already said this on my show. So had you done your research in the capable way you say you do, you would know that I've already said, yeah, it turned out that 40 babies were not killed.
That's weird because I've just checked this morning and all your tweets are still up saying that 40 babies were killed. So if you've corrected it.
I've said it on my show.
But your tweet, you have how many million followers do you have? I know you love talking about your
A
followers.
lot
How many
more
do you
than
have?
you.
Yeah, how many?
I think it's 8.8 million.
So 8.8 million, we could still see multiple
But they can
examples.
watch my show.
Which show?
My Piers Morgan Uncensored.
But multiple shows. So you say you got it wrong and you apologise for getting it
No,
wrong.
let me
Have you apologised?
Let me be clear.
I'm just trying to get to the
Let
facts
me be
here.
clear.
Okay.
Let me answer. Right? There was a report that said 40 babies had been beheaded.
Yeah.
People believed it in the moment. It turned out not to be true. I never actually said 40 babies had been beheaded, contrary to the avalanche of people who on a daily...
You passed it off as fact,
Hang on.
Piers. Come
No,
on.
I didn't. No,
October
I didn't.
10th, talking to Joan Collins. This new revelation of 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. How can any human being do that to a baby?
Right.
There's nothing in there that expresses any doubt.
Right, I didn't say 40 babies got beheaded.
He said 40
read it
babies
yourself.
killed, some of them being beheaded. That's false.
Right.
None of them were beheaded.
I want to sit here and try and defend Hamas.
When did I defend Hamas?
You are.
When?
You're trying to downplay and diminish what they did.
I literally started by saying, don't we both agree the kidnapping and killing of civilians are war crimes?
Right.
So how did I defend Hamas?
But
That's a lie. You just lied.
Yeah, but are you suggesting that
I'm suggesting that as a journalist, you pushed something that was false. You should have corrected it and apologised.
Right. What did I
do you
push that
regret
was
it?
false?
Let me read a line. The new revelation of 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded.
Right.
40 babies were not killed, no babies were beheaded.
I never said 40 babies were beheaded.
But you said murdered. 40 babies were murdered. They weren't.
Right.
40 babies
it now
were not
turns
murdered.
out that not that many babies were murdered. No.
Okay.